Hey nerds, welcome to another episode of the Irreverent Nerds podcast. This week we're going to be talking about The Abyss. This is a 1989 American science fiction film written and directed by James Cameron and starring Ed Harris, Mary Elizabeth Monstantonio, and Michael Biehn. Plot synopsis. When an American submarine sinks in the Caribbean, a U.S. search and recovery team works with an oil platform crew racing against Soviet vessels to recover the boat. Deep in the ocean, they encounter something unexpected. So stay tuned for more coming up on the Irreverent Nerds. I'm Richard.
And I'm Will.
And together we're
The Irreverent Nerds. Bum, bum, bum.
Nerds, nerdettes, and assorted nerd persons. We're here to talk about The Abyss. And no, I'm not talking about the abyss in your soul. I'm talking about the 1989 movie, The Abyss, by James Cameron.
Otherwise known as The Abuse.
The Abuse.
Abuse.
The Abuse, or Life's Abyss, and then you dive, or Sons of Abyss. These are all T-shirts apparently that were made by the cast and crew during the filming of The Abyss, which was a very, very painful, very difficult production shoot for many, many reasons. Filmed not too far from where we're at, actually, down in South Carolina, inside of a nuclear power plant. I don't know what the right term is. I'm going to call it smokestack, but I know there's another name for it. But yeah, just those giant things. They fill that sucker up with water,
Like on The Simpsons.
like on this. Yeah, like legit, like that size, but then imagine that filled up with water. Mr. Burns is over there being like, excellent. Smithers, fill it up with water. But Mr. Burns, that will be dangerous. Do it anyway, Smithers.
My good friend James Cameron wants it.
This is right. I'm funding this project. You will do what I say. But, Mr. Burns, you don't pay me anyway. Shh, don't tell anyone that, Smithers. They'll all want to come work for free. Well, so we're a little more relaxed and having fun, believe it or not, even though we ourselves have had some production issues.
I'm going crazy.
Will's computer hates us. It does not, or it hates Zoom. It at least hates Zoom. It does not like to connect properly to Zoom.
It does not like to connect to the internet.
Yeah. Right. Do you have a hard line on that sucker?
Yes, Ethernet cable, but it's just, I don't know what the problem is. Just some days it just doesn't want to load any web pages or anything.
Kick that sucker. Be like, hey.
Yeah.
Get your act together.
My friend Preston and Phil are supposed to help me build a computer in the next year, but it just depends on if the funds are there. So we'll see.
Nice. That sounds like fun. I've never tried that. Someday then. Maybe.
Maybe it'll be better than this one.
Maybe so. So in reflecting there for a minute on my Scottish intro, which kind of went Australian there briefly as well. And then you mentioned The Simpsons, so my brain connected it to what's the name of the janitor on The Simpsons, the Scottish janitor?
Winnie.
Winnie? Wait, what? Winnie?
Winnie.
Winnie?
Willie.
Willie. Willie. Willie. Ah. Yeah. Love The Simpsons. We still need to do an episode on that.
Yeah, we do.
We do. We should pick a specific episode to do and just like have fun with it. I think that would be great. All right, so let's dive into the plot here of The Abyss. So, in January 1994, the U.S. Ohio-class submarine USS Montana has an encounter with an unidentified submerged object and sinks near the Cayman Trough. With Soviet ships moving in to try to salvage the sub and a hurricane moving over the area, the U.S. government sends a SEAL team to Deep Core, a privately owned experimental underwater drilling platform near the Cayman Trough, to use as a base of operations. The platform's designer, Dr. Lindsay Brigman, played by Mary Elizabeth Monstrantonio, insists on going along with the SEAL team, even though her estranged husband, Virgil Bud Brigman, played by Ed Harris, is the current foreman. During the initial investigation of the Montana, a power cut in the team's submersibles leads to Lindsay seeing a strange light circling the sub, which she later calls a non-terrestrial intelligence, or NTI. Lieutenant Hiram Coffey, played by Michael Biehn, the SEAL team leader, is, by the way, Hiram Coffey, not Michael Biehn. He's not a SEAL team leader, as far as I know. Is ordered to accelerate their mission and takes one of the mini-subs without Deep Core's permission to recover a Trident missile warhead from the Montana just as the storm hits above, leaving the crew unable to disconnect from their surface support ship in time. The cable crane is torn from the ship and falls into the trench, dragging the Deep Core to the edge before it stops. The rig is partially flooded, killing several crew members and damaging its power systems.
And it's my turn.
Yes.
The crew waits out the storm so they can restore communications and be rescued. As they struggle against the cold, they find the NTIs have formed an animated column of water to explore the rig, which they equate to an alien version of a remotely operated vehicle. That's an ROV. Though they treat it with curiosity, Coffee is agitated and cuts it in half by closing a pressure bulkhead on it, causing it to retreat. Realizing that Coffee is suffering paranoia from high-pressure nervous syndrome, the crew spies on him through an ROV, finding him and another SEAL arming the warhead to attack the NTIs. Neat word, NTIs. To try and stop him, Bud fights Coffee, but Coffee escapes in a mini-sub with a primed warhead. Bud and Lindsay give chase in the other sub, damaging both. Coffee is able to launch the warhead into the trench, but his sub drifts over the edge and implodes from the pressure, killing him. Bud's mini-sub is inoperable and taking on water. With only one functional diving suit, Lindsay opts to enter deep hypothermia and trigger her mammalian diving reflex, where the ocean's cold water engulfs her. Bud swims back to the platform with her body. There, he and the crew use a defibrillator and administer CPR. They are able to revive her. It is decided that the warhead needs to be disarmed, which is more than 2 miles below them. One SEAL, Ensign Monk Adam Nelson, that is the actor Adam Nelson, helps Bud use an experimental diving suit equipped with a liquid breathing apparatus to survive to that depth, though he will only be able to communicate through a keypad on the suit. Bud begins his dive, assisted by Lindsay's voice to keep him coherent against the effects of the mounting pressure, and reaches the warhead. Monk guides him in successfully disarming it. With little oxygen left in the system, Bud explains he knew it was a one-way trip and tells Lindsay he loves her. As he waits for death, an NTI approaches Bud, takes his hand, and guides him to a massive alien city in the trench. Inside, the NTIs create an atmospheric pocket for Bud, allowing him to breathe normally. The NTIs then play back Bud's message to his wife, and they look at each other with understanding.
On Deep Core, the crew is waiting for rescue when they see a message from Bud that he met some friends and warns them to hold on. The base shakes and lights from the trench herald the arrival of the alien ship. It rises to the ocean's surface with Deep Core and several of the surface ships run aground on its hull. The crew of Deep Core exit the platform, surprised they are not dead from the sudden decompression. They see Bud walking out of the alien ship, and Lindsay races to hug him. Notes on the special edition, which we have both viewed.
Yes.
In this extended version, the events in the film are played against a backdrop of conflict between the United States and the Soviet Union. With the potential for all-out war, the sinking of the Montana additionally fuels the aggression. There is more conflict between Bud and Lindsay in regard to their former relationship. The primary addition is the ending. When Bud is taken to the alien ship, they start by showing him images of war and aggression from news sources around the globe. The aliens then create massive mega tsunamis that threaten the world's coasts, but stop them short before they hit. Bud asks why they spared the humans, and they show Bud his message to Lindsay.
When you really think about it, the mega tsunamis probably wouldn't have been able to go all the way inland.
Well, I guess it depends. If they're artificially created, by some power source, then it could be that they could just keep pushing the water and pushing the water.
True.
As opposed to, I guess, a naturally occurring tsunami. But yeah, because they do eventually dissipate and then go back to previous levels. but yeah, I did actually get a chance to watch the ending there, like the final 10 minutes where Ed is having the more extended conversation with the NTIs.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty cool. Like, what'd you think of the ending? I know we're going backwards here, but what'd you think of the ending with the special edition?
Well, I watched the special edition because I heard online that people thought it was the better version of the two. The disc you let me borrow, of course, had both versions on it. I really liked the ending. I heard that it wasn't used in the original because James Cameron didn't like how the tsunami special effects turned out. I don't know if they actually did new effects or not, but they look good to me.
I think there was also an order from above, from what I heard from the studio heads, like, hey, this movie's way too long. You need
right.
I think. Regardless, they cut out a lot because of the length. I think it had something to do with it as well. So basically, almost the entire Soviet subplot was cut out in the theatrical version.
Well, I know that people above James Cameron's head, the people funding this thing, were like, hey, get this thing out there already.
Yeah, like he was over budget, which is also typical for James Cameron. And I think it got pushed from a July release date to a December release date, because of the shooting itself taking longer, but then also post-production taking longer, because James is definitely a perfectionist, which I think something, and this is kind of in preparation for this, you and I think, I don't know if you caught this as well, but watched a video from Joe Blow Entertainment on YouTube, and they talk about the film. You should check it out, by the way. It's called WTF Happened to the Abyss, which, by the way, if you try to find it streaming, it is nowhere to be found.
Nowhere. I couldn't find it at all.
Yeah, Will was going to watch it streaming. I was going to watch my DVD copy, and I couldn't find it, so he had to borrow mine, so that we could get this viewed, which this was your first viewing of the film, Will. Yeah. So it was cool. So you caught up with a cool movie from the 80s. Yeah. Did you know much about it before seeing it?
No, while trying to find it on streaming, one of the things I tried to rent it on YouTube, but I couldn't find it even on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And so unfortunately, my first exposure to this film was seeing random clips and behind the scenes stuff. So because of that, I came into this film expecting it to not be as good as it really is. It's good. It's a good movie. It's I definitely can't tell by watching it that there were so many problems on set, but I really enjoyed it. And one thing I hadn't mentioned yet, because I think you mentioned earlier, Richard, that we did mention it. We've gone through so much trouble ourselves just trying to make this podcast. One thing I didn't mention in any of our previous failed recordings tonight was that the ending of this film was really difficult for me to watch with the spoiler alert, this is an 80s movie.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it by now. Yeah. But, if you haven't seen it genuinely and you don't want to be spoiled, skip this.
Yeah. Well, actually, we already said it in the plot, so never mind. But
Oh,
I forgot. But the wife, she drowns. They resuscitate her, but she drowns, and then they think the husband, Bud, he's gonna die until we get the surprise the aliens rescue him. Uh, I like suffer from a phobia of death and existentialism. So
oh, who doesn't, man?
yeah,
Like,
well,
I don't know too many people that aren't scared of death. Which I feel like there's healthy and unhealthy fears of death,
yeah.
but everybody should have at least a little bit, right? You know.
I've had I looked that up today. Thanatophobia apparently, but
Ah, is that fear of Thanos?
it is now.
Complete with the that was oh, I'm just thinking of was it Star Lord first time? It's like I'm gonna I'm gonna punch that nut sack of a chin or something like that.
I'm gonna have to rewatch that now.
By the way, side note, Guardians of the Galaxy have a holiday special they released on Disney Plus
Yeah, did you see
recently.
it?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was very good,
Cool.
and it had some big reveals actually for the characters that I think it's probably paving the way for the upcoming movie, which I believe will be James Gunn's final entry in the MCU. Um,
Yeah, unfortunately.
yeah, like he's moving over to DC, which those of us who love DC are excited about that. I think his first entry, well, his second entry, because he did Suicide Squad, but I believe his second DC entry is going to be Blue Beetle, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
Um,
I didn't know that Blue Beetle was a thing.
yeah, I saw just a little, not a preview, but like a promotional ad for it. I was like, oh, okay, okay. Anyway, that's a side note.
Well, James Gunn can move to wherever he wants to. I am completely tired of Marvel and DC in general, so they can just fight each other to oblivion. I don't care. No, no, I'm sure I'll still enjoy a few future films. Of course, I'll force myself to watch every single one,
Oh yeah, and at the end of the day, it's like the world building. I mean, it's probably one of the reasons why the comics are still popular after all these years. Like they build the worlds and then they reboot storylines and put in different details and tweak it. So there's so much flexibility that they've built into the system, so to speak. So imagine that's one of the reasons why the characters are still popular after decades and decades of being around. Now I will say I am excited about the upcoming Ant-Man movie. Like that looks really cool. I'm excited about them going
oh yeah, yeah.
like into the oh dang it.
No, okay, I am excited about that.
Yeah, that looks pretty cool, I think.
I just haven't really been into the latest phase of the MCU that much. I mean, I watch it on all the shows on Disney Plus, but it's just all over the place and varies. And we're supposed to be talking about the Abyss,
Yeah,
so we should
we're
probably get back to that.
very off topic here.
I was about to ask you about She-Hulk, but we should probably not do that.
Yeah, no, we can save that for another time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think something I wanted to mention is like I've long had a fascination with the deep ocean. I think a big part of that is the mystery of, 'cause I think last estimate I heard, it's like over 90% of it has yet to be explored, the ocean itself. So like who knows what's down there, legitimately. Like there could be like an alien species living down there that we just haven't detected yet, who are more advanced than us and can prevent us from detecting them. Who knows? Um
You know what I think exists down there?
what's that?
Death. The
For,
ocean, the ocean scares the crap out of me, Richard.
oh
It's the
man.
mystery. The mystery
Oh my
scares the
goodness.
crap out of me. I don't
Yeah.
want to get in the ocean. I'm afraid I'm going to get bitten by jaws or something.
Oh, yeah, because it's like it's so, especially right way out in the open ocean, it's so deep, like anything could come up, and you're like, yeah, it's just it is scary to me. I don't know that I would want to go too far into it. I love watching films about it. Like one of my favorite documentaries is Aliens in the Deep, also done by James Cameron.
Oh yeah. Oh.
He's like legit, like he doesn't just push the envelope in making movies, like he also pushes it personally. Like he himself has gone down to the bottom of, I believe, is the Mariana Trench, if I'm not mistaken.
Cool.
Like he's gone very deep. Like that was the second documentary he did, but a first one, Aliens in the Deep. They went on an expedition. Went, I believe, at least 3 or 4 thousand feet down, down to where there is chemosynthesis, occurring, and it's just really amazing. Like you have these vents, like superheated water. Basically, it's like a steam vent from underneath the Earth's crust, more or less. It's letting off steam from there. So, like right within the plume of superheated water, it's like 700 degrees Fahrenheit. But then you go just a little outside of that plume, and it's like below freezing because it's so cold down there, or at least near freezing. And there's these creatures that are just amazing. There's these tiny little shrimp, and they can swim in and out quickly of the 700 degree Fahrenheit to like freezing, and without batting an eye. And down there, the life that exists down there lives completely without the sunlight. There's no, that ecosystem down there depends on chemicals, not on energy from the sun.
I bet those shrimp are hard to fry.
Could be, I don't know. But it's just an entirely different ecosystem down there. The biosphere, if you will, under the ocean, especially the deep ocean, when you get past where the sunlight can reach, just where the energy comes from for life to exist. It's not dependent on the sun at all, which one of the things that documentary explores, and again, off topic, relevant, but off topic, is the possibility of say life existing on specifically they talk about the possibility of existing on Europa, which is one of Jupiter's moons. Scientists believe, at least at the time of the documentary, and I believe this is still the case, they believe it's an ice moon that might possibly have oceans underneath. So there's been talk over the years of an expedition eventually going there and trying to get down into the oceans to see if there might be some chemosynthetic life down there. Who knows? It's pretty cool. But anyway, like the deep ocean and like the mystery behind it is fascinating me. Not enough necessarily to go and explore it myself, but I do love watching documentaries about those who have explored it, and movies that deal with the mystery. This being one of them, and I think the fact that they encounter NTIs down there is pretty cool. Like I like that. I like that twist myself.
What does that stand for again? Non-terrestrial. What now?
What was it? Non-terrestrial.
Oh, intelligence, right?
Intelligence. Yeah, that sounds right. Mm-hmm.
So, should we talk about some of the problems that occurred?
Yeah, again? the production.
Now that we're recording.
Oh man, we finally got Zoom to work, although it wasn't fully working. Like Will's audio was working, and we thought we had recorded, like we were like 15 minutes in, and then I realized that it was paused.
Oh, that's good. It felt like a lot longer.
Yeah, it was like and it had taken us like 30 minutes just to get the dang thing working, and up to that point, so we're like,
I think it took us a whole hour to get my computer to work.
Was it really? It could be.
Yeah.
Like I said, it hates us. That was a practice run, though, so I feel like hopefully the finished product will be better because we had some practice. Rehearsal. We'll call it a rehearsal. That's what we'll call it. But yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the difficulties in production. Like what are some things that stuck out to you and what you learned about that?
Lots of drowning. Lots of almost drowning.
Yeah.
Everybody almost drowned. They drowned. He drowned. I'm being silly because we've already talked about this one time.
Yeah. Was it Ed Harris almost drowned?
He won't even talk about it. His time on this film. He hates
really?
it so much.
Oh, like now he won't talk about it now?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
I know he did back then.
He obviously talked about it. About that what happened to him on his drive back to the hotel, if you want to give that story. But I hear tell that he won't talk about his time on this film otherwise.
I wonder if that's part of the reason it's no longer available on streaming. It's like everybody who worked on it hates it.
Even
Maybe not the
James Cameron hates it.
not like the finished product, but like the memories from all the hardships. Yeah, because like the underwater sequences of the film were shot at a unit of the Gaffney Studios, which is situated south of Cherokee Falls, outside of Gaffney, South Carolina. Which I've actually driven past Gaffney. One of the things they're known for is a giant peach on the side of the highway. If you ever go down, like, I believe it's in between Charlotte and Spartanburg, if I'm not mistaken.
I think I've seen
Gaffney.
it.
And it's kind of awkward too. It's like because the side that's facing the road looks like a giant peach butt, complete with cheeks, and then some kind of, I think it's a release valve, but it's very conspicuous release valve down at the bottom of the crack.
I didn't see the release valve, but I did think driving down to Walt Disney once or twice, I did tell my wife, "Hey, look, it's mooning us."
Saw the yeah. I think they actually are renovating it to maybe change some of that, but apparently this power plant had been abandoned by Duke Power, who
really?
we get power from. But I guess they cover South Carolina as well. Apparently, they had spent like $700 million constructing the Cherokee nuclear power plant, and then abandoned it, which kind of sucks. It's a lot of wasted money, it seems like. But yeah, they used that to become basically these giant tanks, and I know for the main one, Site A, I think they actually built like an artificial rock face, and they're like, when you see Ed Harris, getting pulled down, like they were pulling him sideways along the rock face, but like the thing was massive, so that they were, it's pretty crazy. Like, and it was obviously was deep enough that people had to depressurize if they spent too much time down at the bottom of the tank.
And when they were pulling him, he was holding his breath because there was liquid in his helmet as well, right?
I don't know if it's in that part, but definitely one of the scenes. Yeah. Instead of having him breathe in the oxygenated liquid that you can actually apparently breathe as a human, they just filled his helmet with water while he was underwater. And
really,
obviously,
heard it.
They did really short takes, I think.
Right.
But, and they had divers around, with breathers and stuff, for him. But still, that'd be freaking scary. Like I wouldn't do it. I'd be like, hell no, man. Like, I'm not that committed to making an amazing movie. Like, I'm not gonna die for this.
It is an amazing movie, but from everything I heard about what the actors had to go through in post-production, I mean, they didn't even use stunt doubles, but I think I wouldn't do it. I'd be like, y'all crazy. I'm not gonna risk my life for this.
Yes, this is a grueling shoot too. They had like 6 days, 70-hour weeks, pretty isolated. Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio had a physical and emotional breakdown on the set. Ed Harris had a breakdown, like you mentioned earlier, on the way home after nearly drowning. And Cameron himself admitted, quote, "I knew this was going to be a hard shoot, but even I had no idea just how hard. I don't ever want to go through this again."
I mean, James Cameron almost drowned himself.
Yeah, he nearly drowned, and had two workers made mistakes. Like, one forgot to remind him to refill his air, and then another, in trying to help him, almost drowned him while he was on his way up. He had to punch the guy in the face in order to save himself. So yeah, but yeah, the dude is relentless though. Like he went through and finished the film. Yeah, and like I said, I mean, he's pushed the envelope, and I think even though he's hard to work with, even with studio heads, like he's very, very committed to his vision. He's uncompromising, but they put up with it because dude knows how to make money. I mean, Titanic made what, $2.1 billion. It was the highest grossing film of all time up until it got defeated by Avatar, also a Cameron film. And that was undefeated for almost 10 years until Avengers, I believe it was Endgame, defeated it. And we'll see how Avatar: Way of Water does. I don't know if it'll be able to beat its initial, like the original Avatar. I don't know if it'll get up to that level, but we'll see. Because that one was like it was new, and now it's like it's just a continuation of the storyline. So I have a hard time imagining it would exceed 2.8 billion, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it does. I'm looking forward to it regardless. I think it's gonna be enjoyable.
Yeah, me too.
Back to the abyss. Back to the abuse.
Well, I can certainly see how this film would have prepared James Cameron for other films in which he used water. I mean, like on the Titanic when all that water comes pouring in.
Oh yeah, it's true. Yeah, imagine he learned a few things about safety for the actors and just how to set things up. And yeah, imagine he did, and then he eventually went on expeditions himself. I believe he went with Robert Ballard to go down and explore the Titanic, and they eventually did a documentary together called Ghost of the Abyss. I think in 2003, I believe, where they explored the Titanic, and then obviously the aliens in the deep. He goes on that expedition with scientists, and they went down quite deep, and then he actually ran a team. I believe I had this documentary myself. He ran a team that built a sub, like designed and built a sub themselves, and then took that down. Let's see if I can remember the name of it. Deep Sea Challenge, James Cameron's Deep Sea Challenge. So yeah, the sub went down super deep. It was a one-man sub, and James Cameron piloted it himself. So yeah, he's pretty hardcore. He's like he pushed people hard. I mean, and obviously if you're going to be driving the thing yourself down to the bottom of the ocean, you want to make damn sure that it's done, built well.
Have we talked about Terminator 2 yet on this recording?
I'm not sure. Yeah, we're getting mixed up here.
Well, they ILM did the water effect. Really, James Cameron had them push the envelope there, and that water effect they did with the water tentacle really helped in Terminator 2 later down the road.
Yeah, like with the CGI, the Terminator. Well, the Terminator in the Terminator 2. And I know he has a name. I can't think of it right now. but yeah, he was liquid metal basically. Still looks good to this day, honestly. Yeah. Both films. And I think part of that is like obviously it wasn't simple at the time, but the relative simplicity, is part of what I think enabled it to look so good. And honestly, some of the CGI from that time, like Jurassic Park, for instance, to me, the CGI still looks good. It still looks better than some of the crap that people just throw out today. And like they do it too quickly and they don't really put effort into it. Jurassic Park still holds up, in my opinion, even the CGI.
Oh yeah,
they put so much work into that, and they were like inventing technology to create it. So yeah, that part of this is cool, but I do, getting back to the ending that we talked about, like
yeah,
I do like that. Now the remedy that the aliens propose, in a sense of like, hey, we're gonna wipe out the human race because you guys are too violent. I was like, okay, well, that's great. Violence with violence, because they wouldn't have just wiped out
this.
They wouldn't have just wiped out the humans. They would have also wiped out all the other living animals on the planet. Which to me that's like very cruel. So like, were they bluffing? Yeah, it begs the question, like, were they bluffing and intending to stop all along? Or yeah, That's a good question to consider.
Or maybe they were just concerned the nuclear war would reach them.
Could be, although they're advanced enough, I don't think that would be much of a threat anytime soon. But yeah, maybe they were looking further into the future of like, hey, if this species is starting to go into space, so we don't want them eventually coming for us.
So, here's something I found interesting. It took them so long to film after they filled one of these nuclear smokestacks with water that algae started growing in it. So then they had to dump bleach chlorine in it.
Oh yeah.
So when they actually did film, everybody's hair started turning green and white and falling out.
Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah. Chemical burns and everything.
Mm. Well, good friends, if you want to see this film, you might be shit out of luck. Actually, I'm looking.
We know where you get an $8 copy right now.
Yeah, if you happen to live in Winston-Salem, McKay's has it's a 3-pack: Alien, Aliens, and The Abyss. Okay, never mind. Amazon has it for sale. You can order the special edition DVD for $15.38. There's only 8 left in stock though, so you gotta hurry. I don't know if it's ever been released on Blu-ray. Doesn't look like it. So yeah, it looks like DVD is the only option at this point. Maybe someday they'll remaster it. But so yeah, if you want to catch it, buy it now.
Buy it now. I heard this thing was out of print.
Yeah, maybe that's why there's only 8 left in stock.
Yeah.
So yeah, y'all better hurry. We want to get a copy. And it's worth it. It's a really good movie.
Yeah, it is.
Oh dang,
actually.
You can get the VHS tape from Amazon. $9.48.
Well, there's an option.
There you go. If you still have but you can probably get it from oh wait, never mind. It's temporarily out of stock. Wouldn't that be indefinitely out of stock? Like
yeah, pretty much.
They would literally have. I guess they literally have to get it from someone else. Yeah, it looks like
the copy might come in, or it might not.
Looks like 2002 was the last time they released it on VHS back in the day. But yeah, you could always hunt in a a thrift store. It's like you never know what you run across.
I'd like to crunch the numbers on the possibility that could happen, though.
So anyway, yeah, check out The Abyss, and if you can, if not, just listen to our podcast. In fact, do that either way. And obviously, if you're listening now, then you're hearing this, so you have listened. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, nerds. So next week we're going to continue our James Cameron series with a review of Avatar. So look forward to that. And then we will finish up our James Cameron series on December 21st, I believe it is. So whatever that Wednesday is of that week, with a review of Avatar: The Way of Water. So until next time, sayonara.
Sayonara.
Live long and prosper. I'm Batman. He's Batmite. Together we're the Bat Nerds.
Dun, dun, dun.
Bat Nerds.
Smithers, who are these irreverent nerds? Well, sir, they're the hosts of this podcast. What's a podcast? Well, sir, it's kind of like a radio show. Ah, I see. Like The Shadow or CBS News. Yes, sir. I think we should buy it. I don't think it's for sale, sir. Poppycock, I just bought Twitter. I can buy this podcast. Alright, sir. I'll talk to them and see what they say. Excellent.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Irreverent Nerds podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at irreverent_nerds, plural. We are on Facebook. Our fan page is simply called The Irreverent Nerds. We're on YouTube, The Irreverent Nerd. And if you go to anchor.fm/Irreverent Nerd, you can support us for 99 cents a month, $4.99 a month, or $9.99 a month. You can also send us a voice message, which we may include in a future episode. Fellow nerds, until next time, make it so. Engage. Avengers assemble. I'm Batman.